Hello friends, I'm This4. Welcome back if you are a returning subscriber, and if you've never been here before, hi, hello. My name is Lauren and I like to talk about tarot, astrology, moon stuff, spirituality, all the different things in between. And let's just get into it today. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. This is a video about what to do for this new moon in Leo happening on the 28th of July. This new moon in Leo also coincides with the Jupiter station retrograde. So this might be a really potent moon, and we might want to do some special ritual around this moon to really soak up the most out of it. So as always, let me just give the caveat that you do not have to utilize each moon. If you feel tired during a new moon or a full moon, that is completely fine. Most folks don't feel super inspired to use every single moon because there might be a lot happening in our lives, and depending on where this is hitting in your natal chart, it might be actually a great invitation to rest and reset. But with that said, let's kind of talk about what is a new moon. A new moon is what happens when the moon and the sun are conjunct. They're in the same sign. So this means the moon might look really dark or blacked out. So in this time, it might be really important to just be aware that things might not feel as clear because the moon is not fully illuminated. It's a great time for planting seeds, planting intentions, harvesting, or taking up gratitude. Things like that might be more associated with the full moon. However, you can still use every moon for gratitude. That's not to say that any moon is specifically better or worse than for that. Gratitude is always a good thing to show no matter what ritual you're taking part in. But if you're looking to kind of plant some intentions, new moons can be really great for that. New moons are a great time to do some reflecting, some slowing down, and really just acknowledging this super Leo energy we are going to be experiencing. And again, this reflection will be way more powerful and potent because of Jupiter stationing retrograde, which will also be its own video. One thing that I always inspire folks to look into is, of course, follow your intuition with what feels most in alignment for what you're doing. But because this is a fire sign, I always recommend doing some fire safely in your own home. For this dark moon, it might be a really good time to try a fireball. Now, this is not to be done in a way that is unsafe. I highly recommend only using Pyrex glass to do a fireball. And this might not even be the language that most people would identify with this, but this is where we take Epsom salts and pure rubbing alcohol and combine them equal parts in a bowl. Lighting Pyrex glass bowl. Again, Pyrex glass only, please, because you will not be safe. And I am not, if you don't use Pyrex glass, it most likely will not be safe. Glass might break. That's very dangerous. It could start a house fire. So this should either be done outside in a glass Pyrex bowl, or definitely on a surface where it will not tip over and cause any damage. And again, this is do at your own risk. Please do not be unsafe when we're using fire and ritual. Very important to stay safe. It's incredibly hot right now, and so a lot of places might be suffering from burn bans. So doing this outside is also very important to look at the burn bans in your area. Growing up in Texas, in Houston specifically, I know a lot about burn bans. If you do not heed the warning of a burn ban in your area, you can cause a big forest fire. And that actually happened on my parents' property long ago. Very scary. But when using a Pyrex bowl in equal parts rubbing alcohol and Epsom salts, this is a very contained, very safe fire. Do not use an excessive amount of either so that you can ensure that this does not get out of control. Make sure that the bowl has at least 2 to 3 inches above where your line of salts and alcohol is. Now I say rubbing alcohol because that's all I've used and that's all I feel is safe. So please, again, be careful. Do not use grain alcohol that is used for human consumption. I do not know how that will interact with this work, but I digress. Using a Pyrex bowl with salt and the rubbing alcohol should be safely contained, and that will allow you to have this space. The salt is really powerful as a cleansing agent, as most of you witches might know. So again, using a Pyrex bowl, glass bowl, rubbing alcohol and salts with no essential oils in them, you will have a clean burn that will be easy to clean up once it dies out. If you need to put the fire out before it is ready, make sure that you have something to smother the fire because water will not work. That is another thing to remember. When using fire in ritual, please be safe. Your safety is the most important part, but also the safety of everyone else around you. So, why would you use this burning bowl? Well, burning bowls like this can be really great alternatives to, let's say, a fire outside a fire pit. This is a little bit more contained and it will burn out with no embers, which is really a safer option, especially when things have been so hot. This can be used in a ritual. You can sing over the fire. It's highly recommended that you use prayer over the fire. I don't recommend putting anything into that fire personally. If you are a witch that has done this before and has used other things, please let me know what your experience was. I would love to know what you find really magical in this sort of work. Staring into the fire while saying prayers and singing songs out loud can be a great way to honor the fire element that Leo represents. And so this can be a really great way to just kind of honor that element and fully allow it to be a presence in your space a little bit more than perhaps a candle would. I would normally recommend candle magic as well, and that's definitely something you can do here. I feel like with this full moon and the Jupiter retrograde though, I might personally be looking for some Pyrex so that I can practice this ritual in my own home, because this will be really potent with using that energy of the salt as a cleanse as we are entering in this new moon. And of course, I definitely recommend another ritual while your salt bowl is burning is to do some journaling. Journal with the flames, asking questions and then journaling what comes through on those questions. What might be some good journaling prompts? Well, one that I would highly recommend would be to ask very simply, what guides are coming to support me during this transitional time? That's one. Keeping it open. What guides? They might be ancestors, might be spirits. What guides can support me in this time? Number 2, what creative fires am I being asked to tend to? Number 2 is, what creative fires am I being asked to tend to? Just as you are tending to your Pyrex salt fire, your salt bowl, That can be a really great question, honoring that creative fire while also asking, hey, what fires am I being asked to tend to? And then lastly, a third question, again, use as you choose, pick one or all three if they feel supportive, might be, what am I being asked to step into in this transit? What am I being asked to step into in this transit? These are very vague questions, but I feel like they can be really open-ended with this transit of Jupiter along with this dark moon in Leo. So those are my main suggestions when it comes to this kind of work, working with the dark moon in Leo specifically for this year and what's happening around. I also highly recommend spending some time during the day, if possible, outside. Take some time to journal your emotions, kind of just making a tracker of sorts of where you are emotionally in this transit of the moon. What are you noticing is coming up for you right now, and what is kind of happening in regards to your relationships, your work, and the way you move through the world? What has been changing? What has not been changing? This will be a really great note to come back to when we see the full moon come around back next month, when we have the lunation kind of go through its half of the life cycle, where it goes from the dark moon to the new moon, or to the full moon, and then of course cycle back. I highly recommend keeping track of especially how you're feeling on these dark moon days to kind of reference where you are in the next dark moon or even just the full moon. Picking up patterns can be a really great way of working with the dark moon or any moon in the lunar cycle or just the lunar cycle in general. So making sure to have good notes for that is really important. And of course, I also think this dark moon will be a great excuse to vamp up your altars. I think that's one thing I'm going to try and do the following weekend after the dark moon, is to do some altar revamping, cleaning off, switching rocks from different different altars, things like that, and also moving my decks around. So keeping the energy flowing and bringing in new energy with the new moon can be really potent as well. But with that said, friends, that's really my tips, tricks, advice for working with this Leo moon. If you're looking for stones to connect with, tiger's eye in all forms is really great, including tire iron or red tiger's eye, which is just heat treated tiger's eye. Those can be really great stones to bring into your rituals for this month. Also, always a fan of carnelian when it's a fire energy. This is my personal carnelian that I love. I keep it on my desk. It's great creative energy, really great for... I've also gotten this. I'll talk about this stone in a little bit, another video. But anyway, this is a great stone to use in ritual right now as well. But of course, follow your heart, follow your intuition. Know that you can trust your intuition to know what to do for this dark moon. And if you found this supportive and you want to do any of these rituals, or you did some of these rituals, please let me know down below. I would love to know, how did this work for you? How did it not work for you? And please, again, I cannot say this enough, do not be unsafe when working with fire. Always make sure you have something to smother the flames that is not going to catch on fire itself, because water will not put out this fire. And also make sure you're not skimping with the Pyrex bowl. It is incredibly important that you use Pyrex or just a heat-treated surface like that. Pyrex is the only thing I've used and the only thing I will recommend. So if you do not listen to me, do not come at me in the comments for being an idiot. Sorry, not sorry. But with that said, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a beautiful dark moon, and I'll see you next time, my friends. Bye-bye.